Caleb, what moment will you point to as a turning point in UC's loss today?
Well, Kenny, I think it's easy to jump right out and say Cincinnati's rush defense was plain and clear not good enough. We talked about that earlier in the show, but you showed Alabama's 44-yard touchdown pass in the second quarter. I think you have to go back 8 plays before that. This was a major turning point in the game. Cincinnati punted the football away. They were down 10-3 at the time. Well, Alabama muffed the punt catch. Cincinnati had a chance to jump on it, couldn't do it, and Alabama turned that around and made it count. 8 plays later was what you already saw, a 44-yard touchdown pass. So it went from Cincinnati having a chance to recover that fumble in the red zone and maybe score to tie the football game up at 10 to suddenly Alabama's up 17-3. I think that changed the whole complexion of the football game, Keenan.
Yeah, Caleb, I agree. The best senior class in UC history is moving on, and it appears as if offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock is as well. Yahoo reporting he's taking the same job tonight at LSU. What's next for Luke Fickell and the Bearcats, Caleb?
Well, look, I think Cincinnati unlocked and opened a door this season. They ended up in a room that a lot of people across the country felt they had no business being in, and then they proved here that they belonged there. But think about it like this. A couple of years from now, Cincinnati's going to be in the Big 12 Conference. That door, that room, those walls are not there. That becomes Cincinnati's ticket to this stage. A couple of years from now, this is no longer a novelty. This becomes the expectation. Luke Fickell always talks about how he wants Cincinnati to not be a top 10 team, but rather be a top 10 program. That is the expectation he's going to continue to put on his own program, despite losing all the seniors that they do after this season. So you wanted chaos in college football, right? You got it on Saturday. The number 2 team in the country, Ohio State, went up to Ann Arbor, Michigan in the snow, and they got beat. Frankly, the Buckeyes didn't look great on Saturday. The Buckeyes got outplayed up front, had a chance, though, at the end of the game to get a stop and get the ball back, but OSU just could not handle Michigan's offensive line. The Wolverines marched right down the field, and they scored to seal the game away. That makes 2 losses on the season for Ohio State, one to Oregon and this one to Michigan. And the Buckeyes' playoff chances probably done for, considering they will not play in the Big Ten championship game this coming week. Anything can happen at this point, though. Similar situation last night for the number 3 team currently in the country. That's Alabama down at Auburn, down by a touchdown in the final minutes. Alabama needed to get a stop to give their offense a chance. They got that stop. They got their offense back out on the field. And check this out. Heisman candidate Bryce Young throws a dime to tie the game up in the final seconds. And then they go on to win the game in 4 overtimes. So Alabama remains at just 1 loss this season in the playoff picture at this point. They will play in the SEC championship game against Georgia next week. So with all that said, if you're a Bearcats fan, who do you want to win the conference championship games this coming week? Well, you definitely want Georgia to beat Alabama, because that would probably take the Crimson Tide out of the playoff picture, or at least get them out of Cincinnati's way. You like for Iowa to beat Michigan in the Big Ten championship, but this is one you really need to have your eyes on, the Big 12 championship, and you really want Baylor to beat Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State is still a 1-loss team. These shouldn't matter too much, but the one you really care about the most, obviously, is you just want Cincinnati to beat Houston in the American Conference Championship game, because if the Bearcats win their own conference championship, they should be okay. So I'm going to show you 2 numbers here that have been a real problem for the Bengals. First up is the turnover margin. You see -2. It wasn't an issue back in week 1. It was a major problem, though, last week. Overall, they have 2 more turnovers than they do takeaways. That's what the -2 means. The other number is sacks allowed. Joe Burrow has been sacked 10 times in 2 games. That can't happen. All right, to today's game against the Steelers. I want to bring up the numbers for you here. Turnovers, sacks allowed, and touchdowns. Not a good start for the Bengals in the turnover category. Mid-first quarter, Burrow tipped and picked off over the middle. So -1 early in the turnover category, but the Bengals defense would make up for it. Later on in the first here, Steelers with the football. Ben Roethlisberger going to try to make something happen on 3rd down, but he is picked off by the governor, Logan Wilson. So the turnover category is now back to even. Later on first quarter, Bengals are going to have the football 3rd and 2 in the red zone. Burrow goes underneath to his guy Tyler Boyd, and not a good tackling effort by the Steelers there, but hey, Boyd breaks free, takes it all the way home. That's a 7-0 Bengals lead. Take another look here at the poor tackling effort by the Steelers. Not quite sure what this was all about, but give Boyd credit for taking it in for the score. Skipping ahead now, final minute of the first half. It is 7-7. And I'll tell you what, fans complained all week about play calling, right? Said the Bengals didn't go deep enough last week. Well, how about this? Jamar Chase, 3 games into his rookie season and 3 deep touchdown catches, 1 in each game. And you know what? Ooh, what a catch. I think any questions about his catching ability can now be put to rest. It's 14-7 Bengals at the half. Second half, Steelers facing third down again. Ben Roethlisberger throwing, and he's picked off again. Guess who? Logan Wilson, the governor of Laramie, Wyoming, making the Steelers pay their taxes in Pittsburgh. The Bengals are now +1 in turnovers today. Later on third quarter, Bengals up 17-7 at this point. Burrow going to drop back with plenty of time to throw. What is this O-line? I like it. Chase in the back of the end zone, 4 touchdowns in 3 games for him. And look at this perfect pocket the O-line created for Joe Burrow. That's a welcome sight. Unfamiliar sight, but a welcome sight, just like the score of this game. 24-10, a Bengals win. That is the first win up in Pittsburgh for Cincinnati since 2015, and it's the largest margin of victory for the Bengals over the Steelers since 1995. What does the biggest moment in program history look like? Well, it looks like a bunch of college kids jumping over a wall, storming the field. Now, let's break this down a little bit. You got this guy taking a Snapchat video. He catches my camera, and he's like, forget about the Snapchat video, whatever. We got the cardboard version of the college football playoff trophy. I mean, it was absolute pandemonium at Nippert Stadium. All the fans were chanting CFP, CFP for college football playoff. And yes, that's probably where UC is going to end up. Quick look at last night's conference championship game. A little slow out the gate on defense, but not on offense. 2 of Cincinnati's first 6 plays were touchdowns. Jerome Ford looks up at the video board to make sure nobody's going to catch him. I don't think so. He's a man of very few words, but a man of very big runs. Cincinnati went into halftime ahead by just 1 point, 14-13. But in the third quarter, didn't take long for the Bearcats to put Houston out of its misery. 3 touchdowns in the first 8 minutes of the second half, and Cincinnati makes it 13-0 this season, undefeated, and Desmond Ridder is undefeated at home over the course of his entire career. Incredible.
During the heat, where we're playing is a special place.
All right, here's a look at this week's college football playoff rankings. What you really need to see here is at 4 and 5, of course, as you just saw, Cincinnati winning last night in the AAC championship, and Oklahoma State lost yesterday in the Big 12 championship. That's why it's almost certain at this point the Bearcats will be in the college football playoff. Now, after the game, head coach Luke Fickell was asked what his statement would be to the college football playoff committee for why Cincinnati should be in. And with confetti still in his hair from the celebration, here's what Luke Fickell said.
Are they going to call and ask me? I don't think so.
Sports anchor Caleb Noe is joining us from Fort Mitchell as the Covington Catholic student section, look at this, prepares for our game of the week. They are ready, Caleb.
The places, I'll tell you what, the places that high school football has me end up. I'm surrounded by hundreds of Covington Catholic football fans right now, and they're all around me going, shh, 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 because I'm about to be on live TV here. How about we stop shushing and cheer a little bit? We gotta... So I got Will Ziegler here with me. He is a senior at Covington Catholic High School. Will, what are we doing here?
I'm going to be giving William Wallace a speech from the movie Braveheart, and then we are going to march on to Beechwood.
What is your favorite part of that speech? Just give me like a 5-second clip of what we're about to see here.
My favorite part is the end, when I get to yell for freedom!
So our game of the week tonight is Beechwood against Covington Catholic. What this all centers around here is a march from here in Fort Mitchell up the hill to Beechwood High School, where the game will be at tonight. This is Covington Catholic student section, as mentioned. How long of a march is this?
It's not too far, right up the hill. Probably don't know exactly, but about About 1 mile.
Got about 15 seconds left here. Will, what is your prediction for tonight's game? Beechwood against Covington Catholic, a huge rivalry. What's your prediction?
Cov Cath is going to take it home.
Friday Football Frenzy is tonight, shortly after 11 o'clock here on WCPO. Guys, I'm going to send it back to you.
Oh, I'm glad we found Caleb after all that.
I wish they had a little more energy. I really do.